Hello, everyone, and welcome to Creating a New World, the show about the 12 Visions world, a world of wealth, health, peace, love, and prosperity. I'm your host, Bill Hunsiker, and I'm very happy to welcome my two panelists. First, we have Sage Katakura, who's a great friend of mine and knows a lot about the 12 Visions world. Welcome, Sage.
Thank you so much, Bill. Great to be here again. It lights my Saturday fire up. Every Saturday I do it.
Thank you, Sage. And also, I would like to welcome Harry Dolgen, who's another great friend of mine, and is learning about the 12 Visions world, and I greatly value his insight as he learns more and more about what we're talking about. Welcome to the show, Harry.
Thanks, Bill, and you and Sage light my fire, stimulate my thinking. Thank you. Happy to be here, guys.
Okay, as I said, this show's about the 12 Visions world, and that's based on the writings of author and entrepreneur Mark Hamilton, who thought about what a world without initiatory force would look like, and wrote a book called The 12 Visions to illustrate that. Harry, would you like to read the 12 Visions? They've described the 12 Visions world.
Oh, absolutely, guys. Thanks, Bill. Okay. Vision 1, become the person you were meant to be. Vision 2, live the life you were meant to live. Vision 3, feel extraordinary. Vision 4, stop aging. Vision 5, get the job of your dreams. Vision 6, start the company you've always wanted. Vision 7, embrace the lover of your fantasies. Vision 8, diet down to the body you've always envied. Vision 9, become a genius. Vision 10, surround yourself with geniuses. Vision 11, ride a prosperity wave that will make you a millionaire. And Vision 12, enjoy perfect physical and mental health. I like that one.
Me too.
Like them all. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Harry. We're gonna be talking about an aspect of the 12 Visions world known as Paradise Cities, and this is described in Mark Hamilton's novel Super Puzzle, or Miss Annabelle's Story. And I'm going to read a little bit about Paradise Cities here from that novel. And this is on page 875 of Super Puzzle. At the bottom it says, Kathy named her business resort simply Paradise. The success of Paradise grew so quickly that she made plans to increase the CEO chairs and workstations from 200 to 1,000 within the first few months. Elsewhere in the book is a description of this. Basically, a CEO chair is a very comfortable chair with a computer hooked up to it that's connected to the internet, so that you can run your business while you're relaxing in chair, instead of in the current business setting where you're sitting at a desk,
Right.
in an upright office chair. No matter how, if it's leather bound and everything, it's still not as comfortable as sitting in a very relaxing chair where you can lean back. And this basically puts everything at your fingertips. And obviously as a cup holder, so you can have your favorite beverage while you're working on your business. And the basic idea is to put you in a very comfortable position where you can use your mind to create and grow and prosper. Now it says, at the next meeting of the group, Daniel, who had recently visited Paradise, told the members of a sweeping vision. Kathy's Paradise incorporates the mind through the workstations equipped with Theodore's Super Society software. Kathy's Paradise incorporates the body with a state-of-the-art gym, running and riding trails, and other physical recreations. Kathy's Paradise incorporates the soul with its open format for socializing and interacting with other value creators and loved ones. After spending a few days in Paradise, I became a believer. Everyone should live this way. In fact, everyone would want to after experiencing the creative atmosphere, the fluid value exchanges, and the stimulating respect and love for one another. It was so rewarding. What Kathy has successfully done is to maximize one's emotional integration with one's value creation. So, Kathy and Theodore, Daniel continued, directing his attention to them, I've developed a proposal for you. I want to build a master-planned community. 1,200 custom lots and 600 luxurious residential tract homes throughout your paradise. That'll be spectacularly successful, Theodore said. He had probably the best judgment in picking winning marketing ideas of anyone else. What greater attraction could there be for a place to live? Your new internet software business is ultimately what makes everything work. It's the nucleus that pulls it all together, Daniel said. Residents of these communities will go to work, as you do, Theodore, in the business club's entrepreneurial center 2, 3, or 4 times a week, whenever they want to be around others. The entrepreneur center holds together the business club, and the business club will hold together the community. The mind, body, soul business resort is what will make the community so attractive to live in. So basically, that's the concept. To me, this is the way you live in a voluntary, force-free society. Basically, you live somewhere where you can interact with people when you want to, and be alone when you want to be alone, and where you have the facilities to take care of your body, and also the facilities to take care of your mind and allow you to run your business and be creative, and and bring this all together in one place, so that you only have to travel beyond that place when you want to.
Wow, it's so different from, and I see now we got inklings of that. We have the gyms, we have the complexes, but they're so not how he writes it, Mark Hamilton. They're all together in one place. You even have that community, that naturally forming community. I think that's supportive of businesses, of creating values, and you have that as the thing holding together that community, building that community up, which really is what keeps a community together, I think. But it's taking it to the next level, and there's no force involved in that. I know you were reading an excerpt, but that whole book has that elimination of force, and you can see how that beautiful dynamic starts and spreads. And I'd love one of those chairs, those office chairs that do anything that you could work from comfortably and build your empire from. I could use that.
Yeah, and also,
sounds like,
go ahead.
Yeah,
go ahead.
no. I was just going to say it sounds like Shangri-La. You can live and die there and be very happy. You don't even have to smoke pot. You just relax.
You won't have a desire to. Other than its possible medicinal qualities, you wouldn't have a desire to, because you'd be high on life.
Yeah.
Without the need.
Stimulated. Yeah.
Good point. Yep.
Because when you're living the life you were meant to live in, being the person you were meant to be, you're always happy. So you don't need something else to either take you away from your troubles or make you artificially happy, because you are happy because you're doing what you want to do, and you're living the life that that you want to live. And that's the whole point. I also wanted to mention that they mentioned the Super Society internet software, and I think that's basically the equivalent of the social programs we see today, things like Facebook and Google Plus and LinkedIn and other areas where people can get together and share ideas. but also, you know, this would be something where everyone can feel comfortable freely sharing their ideas without fear of someone else, stealing that from them. But also, I also see the concept of ideas being shared for mutual profit, rather than today's society where everybody thinks about, oh, it belongs to me and nobody else can touch it.
Yeah. And in that force-free world, not to go on a tangent, but you have less costs, and that means more profit, or you have more competitive services, so that people aren't so overly concerned with the money part of it, just because people now are so strapped most of the times, understandably, where they are. It's almost like forcing you to be out for yourself because you're surviving all the time. But when you have that type of environment, the values and the profits build, so that becomes kind of a non-issue.
And also, I can see in the 12 Visions world, in the super society, more people sharing services rather than exchanging money.
Right.
So that rather than you going and buying food at the store or buying some kind of service from someone, they provide. It's almost like barter, but it's it's interactive, where they provide a service for you and you provide a service for them directly.
Right.
But people will also be free to use some kind of monetary system if that's what they prefer too.
So exciting to see. There's no rules, but it could go that way. And I see it from when you're a kid. You want to create values not based so much on the return. You just want that appreciation and that value reflection coming from the person you're doing the value for. And could happen that way.
Businesses are probably competitive and they're not cutthroat. You're not going to go after your competition. You're honest, and you might even encourage your competition to get involved in other things and with your business. Not like it is today, where you're trying to get the other guy and kill the business. So it's a nice world.
It's more about working together to create the greatest value rather than trying to outcompete each other. That's why I've said in the past, and I'll continue to say, that the idea of business will evolve from competition to cooperation.
Interesting. Interesting concept.
Good point.
And I also wanted to mention, they mentioned a program called Business, and to me that's a program that incorporates all the Neothink business concepts into a package that you can easily use, to run your business and be able to use the Power Thinking Mini Day team, seamlessly as you go through your day. And to me, I'm not a programmer, but that's something I would love to see. I mean, a lot of people are getting hung up on the idea that it should be paper rather than computer, but I think from my perspective, doing things on the computer makes things seamless, and especially if you get, if we eliminate this thing and you just talk to your computer to do things, which lots of software is coming up to do that now.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Siri in Apple phones, which is spreading out to other Apple devices, and you have Cortana in Windows phones, which once we get Windows 10 will be on your desktop computer.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to just talk to your computer and do things.
Guys, don't you think that by removing the keyboard, though, it might encourage a little bit of laziness in a way?
No, because I think it's better to make it as easy as possible to use your mind. That's to me, and to me, the keyboard is a something that gets in the way and slows you down.
Yeah, and isn't it best to have both options, because you can use the keyboard, you can use a digital keyboard, you can press on the monitors now, you could speak. Why not have the options and then offer so any preference you would like?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You have. Yeah, it's cool.
I mean, I was speaking more of removing the limitation of having only the keyboard than the limitation of elimination of the keyboard,
Yeah.
just removal of the limitation, not the keyboard itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're prohibited all of a sudden.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yep.
And to me, you know, this is the ultimate choice, and also, like everything else, it's a matter of effort, and you can put whatever effort into your business you want. Now, you know, if you want to get that minimum amount of money to survive in the world we live in now, you have to put in a minimal amount of effort, no matter, you know, no matter how you feel about it. I mean, you got to put in your 40-hour work week or whatever it is in order to get the money to survive. And with this, you can put in as much or as little time and effort into your business as you want. If you want to live on minimal means, but also we'll be in a world where the cost of living will decrease dramatically, to where even if you work 1 or 2 days a week and only make a few $1,000s a month on your business, which people don't understand, they're making a lot more money than they see in their paycheck.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all the rest of the money is taken by the government, pretty much, and by the high cost of health insurance and those kind of things.
Yeah, and all those inflated costs affect the probably the biggest expense everybody has is rent, and the cost of living in a space, and that whole industry, I believe, would also go down based on the needs of the property owners needing less regulation for the property owners, so that the rent expense would go down. From there, you'd have more spendable cash to buy more products. You buy more products, the prices usually go down also, because there's more demand for that, as long as the supply increases, which it would, because people want to provide the services that are asked for.
And the costs of producing products will go down as regulations, the amount of over-regulation decreases. And one of the biggest costs as far as rent or mortgage to a lesser extent, if you're a homeowner, it's more direct because it comes directly out of your pocket instead of coming out of the pocket of the landlord, which they have to get back from you, which is property taxes.
Yeah.
If education, which is a vast majority of property taxes, becomes private instead of public, then property taxes will drop almost to nothing, to the minimal amount required to run your local government. And then once the local government is eliminated, then you have no property taxes at all. And that's the whole point of the 12 Visions world, is we don't want, you know, we remove every place where there's force, and taxes in any form are definitely force.
And what would fill that is that need for, we're not talking about just rampant, I don't know the right word, maybe rampant anarchy. Anarchy is also in the book, the actual definition of it just means free. It's almost like a free market completely, which is very beneficial. And you'd have that situation. The businesses would support and not support, but provide those education services to provide that thing, and also the government. Without the government, we're not talking about just abolishing government and having the Wild West again. It would be businesses that would start becoming available to provide a way for a community, let's say a town, to run optimally, and you would pay that town based on voluntary dollars. As again, prices
or there may not be a town as such, but individual businesses providing individually the services that a town provides today.
You could say a business would buy a location, a huge lot, and you could live on that lot and agree to those businesses' terms, maybe, and that business's terms to supply the great service. They could make it so that each individual could do whatever they wanted, as long as certain very basic criteria are met, and that would be, people would flock to that place. You know, I would go there, I know, and a lot of my friends would go there.
But
you know,
go ahead, Eric.
No, I just wanted, Sage, in what you were saying, a lot of people watching this the word anarchy. You know,
Yeah.
to me, to me and a lot of other people, it might mean chaos.
Yes,
But explain
exactly.
what really anarchy means, either Bill or Sage.
The basic definition of anarchy to me is absence of government.
Okay.
So
And
that's yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean that doesn't
Not
mean
a free
chaos.
for all. It's not chaos. Not
Yeah.
everybody looting and that
Yeah.
type of thing.
And also doesn't mean no rules.
Exactly, because
everyone will be living based on agreements with each other. Yes.
Exactly, and that puts responsibility on individuals, which we're capable of. And all our upbringing, I think so many things point to that. The individual cannot protect himself, make agreements with other people in a society benefiting way. He's always going to destroy society if he's let alone to himself and to his wants. And that's where they really grill that into you when you're young, with all the school, with all the sport programs, and this whole cycle of education that we're spoon-fed. And as I got older and educate myself, read for myself, and do business with free other individuals, that, let alone if the government just fell out tomorrow, it's not like I'm going to start taking advantage of people. I'm going to still do what I know is the best thing, and that's the win-win always, to try to make it work for me and work for the other person, so that I don't have any issues, because I want to live my life happily.
Yeah, we're told constantly that people are basically evil, and that given the chance, they're going to hurt other people, and therefore they must be controlled.
Yes.
Whereas, whereas my look at a child, look at a 4-year-old interacting with other 4-year-olds. They're not going around hitting people, and they're just playing together, and most, and that's the way people are until they become indoctrinated by school or by religion, or
It's a beautiful thing watching a kid like that, but maybe there's a minority that might be troublesome from an early age, or problematic, but the society just accentuates that piece and then puts locks on everybody, using that as an excuse why everybody should be limited, I think.
I agree. Every time you get one incident of someone doing something horrible and terrible, it automatically becomes, we must have more laws to prevent this from happening. Even though it was one person, it wasn't hundreds or thousands of people. There are billions of people in the world. How many people are actually doing these things?
And if you realize how important your individual freedom is, then if everybody does this, we can stop letting that happen. And that's with the 12 Visions world. To me, it's like the focal. It's a way to do it all together in a very solid approach where it can actually get achieved. And and Mark Hamilton writes his beautiful writing, all points to it happening in ideology. And but it can work. It's all based on sound logic, and you can find it through pieces of all sorts of information out in the world already. So
yeah, it all comes down to a focus on protection as opposed to control.
Yeah, and that can allow you to just that protection of your individual right, of your individual freedom, not right, sorry, but your individual choices allows it just gives you that chance of, like he said in the Prime Law, the purpose of life is to prosper and live happily. It gives you the chance to really do that. A little abstract, I know, a couple tangents going on, but
it's
interesting.
Perfectly logical.
That's why I talk about it as the perspective of protection as opposed to control, because in our society today, all the laws are to control people and to prevent those few people who do evil and horrible things from doing those things by controlling everyone.
Yes, right. And I think they limit you so many times. When I was growing up, I'd stop because they'd say, "Well, you that doesn't count for everything. You can't protect what happens when that one person does something bad," and that like muddies the whole water and makes the that law suddenly valid. But it's not true because it's only one instance. It's not in full context. You have 99% of things not going wrong. You have that 1%. You you really should question how to protect that individual freedom. So that I think you have to protect that individual freedom so that the 99% is able to operate at its best possible in its best possible way, and then that 1% almost gets taken care of, you know, um, afterward. It gets taken care of in the free market.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate when you have something like the recent church shooting.
Oh yeah, right.
The very
Exactly.
first thing we hear from politicians as soon as something like that happens is, "Oh, we have to control guns more."
Right. And
Yeah.
how about all the good church things that they've had, or the positive events that have gone on in the world?
Right,
Safe,
right.
Yeah,
literally
yeah,
thousands of people, thousands,
It gets
millions.
blown out of proportion.
yep.
That's the thing. One bad thing happens, it's like it's all or nothing thinking. You know, it's
Mhm.
everything is bad, which
Yeah,
isn't true.
yeah. It's it's so cool the great events that I've seen. I personally, on a local level, thousands of
Yep.
people have passed through our events, and
Yep.
not one instance of physical danger, like physical attacks, have ever occurred.
Mhm.
And the value from those events, I've gotten testimonials of all the great memories and the lives that have been positively affected from those meetings. And
Mhm.
that's far outcompetes that one instance, that
Yeah.
unfortunately happened.
Yep.
And I don't want to diminish the importance, of the tragedy that occurred and the
Right.
fact that people died and everything. I just don't think it's an excuse to start limiting people even more than we've already been limited.
Right. And it's so the benefits and I believe the possible way to prevent those things from happening. It's like it seems like a contradiction is to make sure that the individual freedoms are not trampled on, and the free market can exist to find
Hmm.
solutions to these things.
Yep. And then just briefly to bring the discussion back around to the original topic, to me, a paradise, the idea of a paradise city is just that paradise is the perfect word for it because it's a place where I would want to live, and I think it's a place where most people would want to live.
Yeah.
And just the idea of being able to be in control of your prosperity, and to be and not have to travel, because I honestly I hate my commute every day, and it's only half an hour. I know about people that commute for an hour or more, and I can't,
Oh, me too. I'm
yeah,
so similar to that. I can't
yeah.
stand that long
And
commute.
so I would love to be in a place where I could walk from where I live to where I work, or
Yeah. Like,
even just have where I work be in my house,
Yeah.
because
But
you had all that time together. That's a big piece of your life over time.
mhm.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've often said that if I continue to work, if I had the means financially, that I would buy a 10-acre plot of land, build a house there, and live there. And that's the way I would be if I was still in the world we live in now. But if we got into the 12 Visions world, I wouldn't want that. I would want to be in a place where I could interact with people when I chose to, and not have to travel a long distance to do it. And a paradise city seems to be the perfect place where you have that.
Yeah. Oh, imagine all those breakthroughs coming out daily, in that 12 Visions world.
Right, and talking to people and being stimulated by what they're doing, and
Yeah.
stimulating them by what you're doing and talking about it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just this is what I want, and this is the reason why I'm doing this show and why I'm involved in doing what I'm doing,
Yeah.
because this is the world I want to live in, not the world we live in now, where I make a little mistake and suddenly my whole life is threatened. I'm threatened with loss of job and financial hardship and all of that because I make a little mistake. Whereas, I'd rather be in control of my future and control of my prosperity and be able, have my work, my effort be able to be rewarded for my effort
Absolutely.
commensurately, rather than putting in a lot of effort and still getting the same reward, and having the ability of have that reward taken away from me by making one little mistake.
Yeah, and all those little things from your daily job, just making mistakes and having that danger of getting fired, that is all affected by that starting individual freedom. If it's protected or not, it affects from that, I guess, that source. It trickles down all the way to affect people's, how tight your boss is, his boss is, your company is. They're strapped with those limitations because they have to face the legal things too, the legal ramifications, and could get shut out. So they're acting kind of out of a fear mode too, and then it affects you down to all the individuals working in the company. And if everybody realizes that, we could change this. And that's why, Bill, that's why I'm on the show too with you.
Yeah, just think, guys, just real fast. I know you want to move on, Bill. This show, the hour that it's on, we'll live in the life we were meant to live. I mean, we're in the 12 Visions world.
If we go over the concepts, those concepts they're real. They're idealized, and we're making them real. We're going over them, and also.
Even the feeling,
the feeling,
I feel extraordinary. I feel Vision 3 doing the show.
Awesome.
And listening to you guys and putting my input in.
Yeah.
So you know what?
Likewise.
And plus, we're living it by sharing ideas.
Yes.
And talking about ideas.
The thing isn't going to create itself. It's going to take ideas and individual ideas, and we don't know how it's exactly going to play out. But it's from, there are a lot of people like us. We can see the show growing and people viewing it. People have that same idea, and they have their own unique concepts. But with individual freedom and those beautiful, unique ideas coming from all perspectives, it's just
different
the
styles.
Possibilities are endless. Yeah.
Different styles of communication.
And the whole idea of bringing ideas together rather than holding them apart, because you bring ideas together and they create bigger ideas that are greater than the ideas that you brought together.
Yeah, it's so exciting.
Yep. Okay, we're going to move on to the next section and have a little fun with something I call Where's the Force? And today the subject is going to be buying. And if you need a little explanation of what I mean, feel free to ask. But I'm going to go ahead and say, Sage, where's the force?
Wow, great question, Bill.
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Buying.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to, speak from the heart as usual. When you're buying something, what I love is that you have voluntary choice about what you buy. You have a few things that are forced that you must buy. I must buy my public education system because I pay for it every year. I must buy the property taxes, the taxes I pay for my property every year. If I don't, I will go to jail. So that's force within buying. And if you take it from a higher level, you extrapolate out a little bit. You have all the tax money goes to a lot of politicians. We know that. We know a lot of lobbyists who want certain favors from government and their laws. They collude with each other to create market conditions that help them. And they're the ones with already they're entrenched with or established with a lot of capital. They can create and steer the market in ways because of their vast capital resources, and they can start promoting or helping market different concepts, values, products, services that may be not naturally popular, but they get the airspace because they have connections with other big media entrenched players that also have control of the stations, And so it creates this false market a little bit, not naturally based on just people's demands and wants. So that's forced, and you're kind of forced to what, I guess you're not forced to buy because it's ultimately your choice, except with taxes and anything that you would go to jail for if you didn't pay, whether you like it or not. But it forces you, it forces a idea of what you should be buying or not, whether you do that or not. But it's there.
Okay, Harry, where's the force?
The first thing that came to my mind, let me bring up a situation real quick. I go to Walmart to buy a couple of pants. I take 6 pair of pants to try on in the fitting room. I put it in the wagon. I go to the fitting room. There's an attendant there. She has to give me a little ticket to get me into the fitting room. Plus, she says to me, well, you can only take 4 pants in, not 6. So what I have to do is try on the 4, see what I want, put it back, then go back, take the other 2, and try it on. And I understand the idea of they're trying to prevent theft.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I see sometime in the future these fitting rooms having cameras. And wouldn't that be so obtrusive? So the force is, the idea of telling me how much merchandise I can try on. And I don't like that. So that's the first thing that came to my mind. Try it once.
Thank you.
Try it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And even though my perspective is there's several things, and I agree with both of you, one aspect is even though we have a wide variety of choice on what we can purchase, there are limitations, and unfortunately there's more limitations all the time, including most recently someone decided that Confederate flags were a bad thing.
Oh, yeah.
Now, several places you can't buy Confederate flags because, and at the same time, some people think it's an illusion created to distract your attention from other things that are going on, and I believe that's possible everywhere because they're always trying to distract our attention. But to me, it's the Confederate flag means different things to different people.
Right. You're referring to South Carolina, which went on in South Carolina. They're trying to get the Confederate flag taken down.
It went from that to now you can't buy a Confederate flag on eBay.
Well, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I agree.
The connotation isn't that there's prejudice. You might want to just honor the Civil War veterans of the not the Confederacy of the South.
Yeah.
And that's all it could be. You're right.
And who forces that law that they must be removed from eBay? Does eBay kind of get just allow that? They see it's kind of taboo, and they just remove it or restrict sellers from selling them?
I've seen things to claim that they were told by government officials to stop selling Confederate flags.
That's not right. Absolutely.
But I can't confirm these things. All I can say is I've read that on the internet, and of course, despite what people say, not everything on the internet is true. But it's just the idea, and we're limited in what movies we can see. And I'm not talking about the rating system. I'm talking like the not so recent flap about the movie The Interview. I think it's called The Interview.
Yeah,
because this is basically a movie about people to go to North Korea and interview.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And it was that basically they decided not to distribute the movie because they felt threatened. Well, that's even convoluted because there are different stories about why the movie wasn't distributed.
Right.
But
interesting.
Yep.
Right.
One aspect was it was like North Korea was threatening, the movie producers or distributors or whatever, and other side was, it was different things. But the bottom line is, everywhere you look, there are limitations. I mean, they're not overly restrictive, but there are things that you can't buy, that you can't, things that you can't purchase, and you don't, so there's force involved there.
Mm-hmm.
And in most places, not every place, because there are places where it doesn't exist, when you buy something, you're forced to pay tax. And not on everything you buy, but, in New Jersey.
In some states you don't have, there's no sales tax. Is it Florida? Maybe Florida, no
and
sales
I think,
tax.
Maryland or Delaware, there's no sales tax. But the bottom line is, New Jersey, certain items you buy, you have to pay 7% more because it's sales tax, and there's force there, and then you go further deeper, and then regulations also limit, government regulation also limits what you can buy.
Yeah, and if that money was used in some competitive fashion, it wouldn't be as bad of a deal, but it goes to allotment as the public chosen official decides, and that never leads to a very competitive value, which leads to more competitive values and a higher standard of living for everybody.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
And in the 12 Visions world, you be able to buy what you want and be able to negotiate directly with the person you're buying it from, and what price you're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
And so on. It'll be a true open, free market.
Yeah.
Right. Businesses are running government, and it's only a protection-only government, which is very important thing to understand.
That's very important. Yeah, that's very important. That limitation for anybody who doesn't, there will be justice in the world, actual justice.
There won't be government in the sense that it's something that you have to pay for whether you want to or not, and if you choose not to pay for it, you go to jail.
Right.
Everything will be free. You'll be free to pay for it if you want. If you don't pay for it, you don't get that service.
Yeah.
It's common sense.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. It's so interesting.
I mean, I don't know how people can say we're free when we don't have a choice.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense to me. They call it
an illusion.
Freedom is it's an illusion. Every year we have less and less, yet they claim we have more and more.
Yeah, right.
Okay, we'll move on, and we'll talk about how we're going to create the 12 Visions world, how the 12 Visions world will be created, and that is through the 12 Visions movement, which is organized and run by the 12 Visions Party. And the basic idea is we're going to elect a president and vice president, and the president is going to through the national budget reduce the size of government spending, and therefore reduce taxes and reduce regulations, and even though Congress, which will still be full of politicians, will try to limit this, some of the the 12 Visions president's ideas will get through, and the economy will improve as a consequence, and more people will see the improvement and will want more, and so therefore they will elect 12 Visions candidates for Congress, and they will make the changes, and reduce the size of government to the point where it's protection only, and that's where we transition into the 12 Visions world, when that limited part of government is transformed into a protection only business where you pay for their service voluntarily.
Right. And you can do it, guys. We can do it.
Yep.
We're the ones who give those guys the power. The Congress will try to, the people in Congress that don't want to give people those individual freedoms so that they can see that this makes sense, and still live on unearned profits. They will fight and create different things that try to stop us. But you could see in movements today, the Campaign for Liberty movement with Ron Paul, they try to stop them. But they send enough letters from all individuals like us who just say, no, we're not going to have it. We disagree, and they do back down. They don't have really they don't really have power if everybody sees through the illusion, and that's what we're talking about here. It's just seeing enough through the illusion, and not giving into the illusion anymore.
Exactly. So we're going to continue our look at the 12 Visions Party National Platform, and we're still going through the section called Split Run, where basically the current society we live in is compared with the 12 Visions world. Excuse me. Which the author of the national platform, Mark Hamilton, has chosen to call Hamilton America. I'm going to go ahead and read this next section, and then we'll discuss it. I think this section is the only one we'll have time for today, which is fine.
Cool.
Okay, this section is called Voluntary Pay. Hamilton, America is the only place on earth that is booming with an abundance of jobs, peace, falling prices, a place where people are wealthier and healthier than they have ever been, while America and the rest of the world sink into job losses, home losses, fear, panic, collapsing standards of living. Hamilton, America is also nearly free of crime and is the safest place on earth. For here, government's sole function, its every thought and action is protection. Moreover, the people coming to Hamilton, America are the smartest, value and job creators and most ambitious workers in the world. With no welfare, no government handouts, the lazy moochers and criminal minds do not bother to come to Hamilton, America. They stay home where their socialistic governments hand out elaborate entitlements. The criminals also stay home because crime does not pay in a country with a protection-only government. As America and the rest of the world sink, the people in Hamilton, America enjoy wealth, soaring health, peace, happiness, and love. The juxtaposition of America and Hamilton, America shines a bright light on misery versus luxury, poverty versus prosperity. The contrast is stark. Political rhetoric and demagoguery no longer tell the out-of-context story. Instead, the split run and the underlying numbers tell the whole story. America and the whole world succumb to depression. The citizens of Hamilton, America feel how precious their conditions really are, and they want to pay for the protection service, the government, that guarantees their conditions. This new government idea that gets out of the way adopts the original U.S. Constitution with the following addition: the most basic prime law of protection the founding fathers missed. The prime law, the fundamental of protection. Preamble. The purpose of human life is to prosper and live happily. The function of government is to provide the conditions that let individuals fulfill that purpose. The prime law guarantees those conditions by forbidding the use of initiatory force, fraud, or coercion by any person or group against any individual, property, or contract. Article 1. No person, group of persons, or government shall initiate force, threat of force, or fraud against any individual's self, property, or contract. Article 2. Force is morally and legally justified only for protection from those who violate Article 1. Article 3. No exceptions shall exist for Articles 1 and 2. Living in the only prospering country in the world, a country setting new records for standards of living and safety while the rest of the world collapses into a catastrophic era of poverty and terror, citizens of Hamilton, America gladly, patriotically pay for their protection-only government. The protection-only government, backed by the prime law, guarantees the conditions for Hamilton, America to become the wealthiest, healthiest, and safest country in the history of the world. Beyond that, Hamilton, America government gets out of the way. The question of will people pay for their government if they don't have to is answered as follows. In Hamilton, America, yes. In America, no. That is why America has resorted to a forced-back IRS. By the way, the prime law would never allow a forced-backed IRS and would have prevented the resurgence of the rule of man and his insidious forced-backed ruling class in America.
Wow.
That is so awesome. And my main comment here is this is wonderful, but if the majority of people don't understand it and agree with it, it's not going to work. So part of creating this is people understanding what it means and how it could create this world of prosperity that we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not different from what the Bill of Rights did, those 10 First Amendments to protect individual freedoms. It just says that it brings it full circle because you had 10 beautiful pieces of a person's life, and this prime law just gets the full circle of your individual freedoms protected, no matter what your choices or beliefs are. As long as you're not forcing something on another individual, it's valid and it's protected. And from that's what we're talking about here, and that's what's has that domino effect. Like we've gone through this show, the benefits are waiting there for us if we can all see this. And
yeah, I mean, I just keep thinking of that one line: the purpose of human life is to prosper and live happily. That sentence is giving me the impetus to go out and create a business and to use many days in power thinking team.
That is awesome.
For that. So that's in my mind all the time. Every day when I wake up, I think about that one sentence. To prosper,
wow, so cool.
freedom
I've
to
thought
prosper
about that
and live happily.
Yeah,
right?
I've thought about that one phrase myself a lot, and I'm like, to go out there and say it like that, isn't that the purpose? And I try to myself try to think through it, analyze it, and be like, is that really the purpose? That's my purpose. Maybe that's your purpose, Harry, but is that everybody's purpose? But it's so genius because it is. Everything you're trying to do, whatever that is to prosper and live happily. Whether it's right for you or not, you believe it's to prosper, it's going to lead to happiness and prosperity, and you should be allowed to do that as long as you're not hurting somebody else.
Yeah, and today that goes against everything that the government does because people are following government, so they don't know what their Friday night essence is. I mean, it goes against it today, but in the 12 Visions world, everybody will prosper and live happily.
Yeah, I believe that in the new America, in this 1790s, after the Constitution and the Bill of Rights were adopted, that was the closest we were to the 12 Visions world.
Right.
Partly because of technology. I mean, technology is a double-edged sword. It can be used for good or evil.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, now in the world we live in now, most technology is used for evil. Right. But in brand new America in the 1790s, you could, and even into the early 1800s, you could live your whole life and never meet a government official. If you owned a farm and worked the farm. Now maybe when you go to market to sell your goods, that's about the only place you would see a government official, possibly in the town where you go to sell your produce.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to, you could live your whole life and never meet a government official. Whereas nowadays, every time you turn around, there's a government official. Every time, you turn on the TV and there's the president or some other politician or your local mayor or the governor of your state telling you how you should live your life and what you should do and what you shouldn't do. And as soon as something tragic happens, there's the president telling us, oh, we need more gun laws or whatever,
Yeah.
And and basically all of media, news services, everything is centered around what does the president think. And it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be at all. I know they just had an article on Obama and him singing at an event, and he's like a movie star, and it's just a glamorous, very stimulating thing to look at that the media is constantly putting in front of you. Just this show that goes on because it's easier to look at the show, disagree with the show, like the show, then do something about it in many respects. And the 12 Visions Party, though, movement is all about making it easier for you to do something about it And I think anybody that just likes technology, the good parts of technology in their life, if you're for that, this is all for that. This is all for, if you've liked your cell phones, your smartphones, and the great, amazing breakthroughs they've had in the last 10 years of cell phones, the last 20 years, that's what we're talking about here. That's the technology movement is the one movement that has the least amount of regulations in it. That's what we're talking about doing to all industries. And that's, if you like what you see there, if you have a sick family member or you're sick, imagine that that same freedom paradigm happening to the health industry and having breakthroughs like new, the technology, I can't even keep up with it. There's so many new technologies coming out that I'm not even taking advantage of because I'm not up to speed with all of it. But I'm amazed at what's coming up and how small it is and how efficient it is. It's incredible.
Yeah, imagine doctors actually visiting you again.
Yeah, imagine that.
Because the problem is nowadays most of a doctor's time is taken up proving he's not committing malpractice.
Yeah, the litigation.
So nice. Because nowadays most regulations in the health industry and virtually every other industry makes it so you're guilty until you prove yourself innocent.
Yeah.
That the government assumes everyone is doing these bad things so that you have to prove you're not doing them. As opposed to, the way it should be where in other words, everybody's being prosecuted for the bad deeds of a few.
Yes. And if you have a sick family member just sitting there waiting to get better and or you're not feeling well, imagine you could just go to the store or that a doctor could come to you and give you advice, information, technology that would change that circumstance. Are you for that or against that? Because that's what it would be.
Or even go on to the internet and chat with your doctor like we're talking right now.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yep.
Yeah, just the breakthroughs that would come off. These are just us thinking about it for a split second, but with genius minds spending time on it.
And when the focus is on protecting people, everyone will be pushing their ideas and their inventions toward that end instead of now the focus is on making money.
Yeah.
Yep.
All about the money.
Yeah.
Yep. Welcome, Bob.
Welcome,
Bob. Hello.
Hello, thank you for joining us for the end of the show. I greatly appreciate it. We're going to wrap it up now. I want to thank everyone who views this program and ask you to think about what we've talked about and make it part of your life and tell other people about it. And also, I want to let you know how you can help us continue to make the show. And I want to make the announcement that this show from now on will be every Saturday except for the third Saturday of the month when the New Jersey Online Neothink Clubhouse's workshop is presented. So we will be getting back together next Saturday and doing this again, and I greatly look forward to it, as I'm sure everyone else here is. I also wanted to mention that if you want to help us out and make it easier for me to produce this show, you can go to our Patreon account and give us a little bit of money. And if a lot of people each gave us a little bit of money, we would be in a position to greatly improve this show and make it much more professional than it is now. And so that would be patreon.com/creatinganewworld. And I would greatly appreciate anyone who would be willing to do that. You can pledge as little as $1 an episode of the show. And, if a lot of people do that, then we'll have the money we need to invest in better equipment and give me the capability to spend more time on this show than I do now. I would greatly appreciate that. Also, you can go on to Facebook and Google Plus and go to the both the 12 Visions Party of New Jersey and the New Jersey Neothink Clubhouse's web pages and talk about the show, tell people what you think of it. And also on Google Plus, there's a Creating a New World community that you can join. All you have to do is put it in, and the only reason The only reason I'm making it so you have to apply to join that community is so that we don't have a bunch of spammers on there. And in that community, you can talk about the 12 Visions world, about the show, and about what you think it should be like, because this is something we're creating together. Also, if you're interested in getting involved with the 12 Visions Party, you can go to the tvpnc.org website and find out more about the 12 Visions Party, the 12 Visions movement, and become involved that way. And finally, if you would like to watch previous episodes of this show, which I greatly recommend, you can go to, just as it says below my name here, learn how to do this. First time I've tried to do this. Weird. Right here, go to createanewworld.blogspot.com, and right there are links to all the previous episodes, and that's the central place to do it. You can also go to YouTube and subscribe to my channel, but this is one place where everything's gathered together. I want to thank everyone for joining us, including Bob. Thank you. We greatly appreciate it. And just want to thank you, Sage, for joining us.
My pleasure, Bill. Thank you for putting it on. My pleasure. I'm fired up. It started my Saturday.
And I also want to thank you, Harry, for participating and contributing to the show. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Ditto on that, Sage.
And I want to thank Bob for joining us. Even though you weren't able to participate, we always appreciate your presence. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Bill, and my apologies for coming on and late. That was an error on my part, and I'll explain later.
And what now that we're doing this more frequently, we'll have this more in our minds, and and be more likely to join in at the beginning, and that's great. So I want to once again thank everyone who views this program, and would greatly appreciate your feedback. Let me know what you like, what you don't like, what you think of what we're talking about. My email address is whunsicker@gmail.com. Feel free to send me an email and let me know what you think. And once again, I want to thank everyone for joining me, and I want to wish everyone wealth, health, peace, love, and prosperity. Thank you.
Guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.
See you, everybody.